Hello everyone and welcome back to CasaCloud. In this Ansible Azure automation series, we are trying to create the AKS and the dependent resources using Ansible, and up till now we have already gone through almost 8 videos where we have started with downloading the source code, downloading the dependencies, and we have gone through the walkthrough of what are playbooks, what are tasks and what are roles. We created the dependent certificates and we tried to logged in to Azure using the service principle, and then we have ran the Ansible playbook to create the AKS, and then we have already understood like how much cost it takes to run this AKS. So the post cleanup activity is deletion of all the resources that are created by the Ansible playbook run. That means you will be destroying all the AKS and all the dependent components so that you will never be charged. So the practice should be, we should always create the AKS using the Ansible playbook. We should practice, and then once done, we should clean up the entire created resources. And because the billing is done per hour, so it will not be much expensive for you to learn Azure using the Ansible, right? And then in the last part, we have already created the user and added the RBAC. Today, what we're going to do is we'll be automating the creation of ACR. We have gone through in the previous video in another playlist what are ACR, Azure Container Registries, how to create the microservice in Node.js, and how to create a Docker image and how to push that Docker image to the ACR. Everything is we have already gone through in the previous videos that you can see in the channel. And today what we're going to do is we'll try to automate that creation of the ACR and attaching that ACR to the AKS, so that AKS will be able to pull the images from the ACR, that is Azure Container Registry. So we'll be continuing with our repository Ansible Azure. If you're new here, then you need to pull this particular repository using this source code. Copy this one and go to your favorite IDE and just do git clone and paste. Okay, and once you will paste it, you'll get this particular project in your local. Let's see what do we have here. Create AKS playbooks. So the structure is almost the same. We have already gone through this. I've just renamed the file from 00 to 12. Okay, this is only change you can see. So infra complete is the master file where it is trying to pull all the playbooks sequentially to create the resources. So up till now, the creation of the AKS we have already seen, and creation of users and adding RBAC we have seen. Okay, today what we'll do is we'll create the Azure Container Registry and attach it to the AKS. So let's go through this particular file. What is create AKS? It is 09 create AKS.yaml. Let's see 09 create AKS.yaml. What it is trying to do is the first two tasks is to pull the global and the regional variable. The variables are present in the variable section. This is my regional variable. Okay, these are my regional variables, and here you can see the updated container registry from 59 to 63, where I'm just giving the container name, SKU which is standard, and the public network access which is enabled. Okay, so these are the three things that I'm providing. Let's go back to our playbook. So we are just doing the Azure login here. We have already gone through this step. If you are new here in this particular video, please go through the previous videos where we have in depth given the understanding how the login works. Then the dependency is we need to create the resource group. For creation of the resource group, we are calling the task create rg001. This passing 3 different variables. This we have already done in the creation of RG, but because we need to have the resource group before we create the ACR, and we want to make sure that all the playbooks are independent to run. So we have included creation of the Azure resource group here. Okay. And if we go to the global variables in the core, we can see create RG. We always go to the main. Let's open this to the side. And here we see it, what we are doing it. We are just doing AZ group create, and the name that we have passed, RG name, the location and the tags that we have passed, and we are creating the Azure resource group here. Okay. So that is what we are doing. Then we have the Azure Container Registry. This is important. We have created a new role that is create Azure Container Registry 001, where we can find this particular role inside the management section, create Azure Container Registry 001 in the task main. Then what we are trying to do is we are trying to assert that few of the cloud variables are present. That is the name of the ACR, resource group, tags, location, SKU tier, which we are passing through here. Name, group name, location, tag, SKU tier, and which are being passed from here, split right. If we can see here, okay. These are the variables that we are passing. Container registry .container registry .name, which is this. Then we have the location. Location is coming from the variables above. That is, this is the location that we have been passing. And then we have the tags from above only. And then the SKU tier is coming from here. Okay. So these are the variables that we are passing into the main variable. And the AZ command to create the Azure Container Registry is AZ ACR create, and then we pass the resource group, name, SKU, location, and the tag. We are registering that output inside the ACR create, and we are passing that back to the registered variable, to this particular registered variable. Okay, so this is how we create the ACR. Let's go back to our infra. Next, once the ACR is created, we need to attach that ACR to the AKS. How do we attach that? Let's go through the 10th playbook. What it's trying to do, it is pulling the global and local variable, that is the global variable and the regional variable. It is trying to log in, which are the standard steps, and then it is trying to pull or call a particular task, that is ACR attached to AKS task.yaml. Why am I calling a task? Because tomorrow if I have more than one AKS or more than one ACR, I should not write multiple playbooks, but from the same playbook I should be able to call the similar task but with different variables of ACR, that is container registry, and the AKS name. So this is, we need to plan which place has to go inside the roles, which place has to go inside the task. Okay, here is the task that we are using. So if I go back here, what are the variables that I'm passing from the, this is ACR name, container registry.container registry.name, nothing but this particular name I'm passing, group name, which is this particular RG name, resource group name, and then the AKS name. AKS name is nothing but this particular AKS01. These are the three things only I'm passing to this task. So here I'm first validating whether the task element are passed or not. If the task element is present, then I'm seeing inside the task element whether these three things are present or not. Okay, if not, then I'll be stopping this playbook with error that we cannot go further. Once that is done, then I'll try to get the ID of the container. How do I get the ID of the container? I'm calling another role, that is get Azure Container Registration ID, and passing it two details, that is name of the container ACR, the name of the ACR, and the group name. And where is this particular role? Get Azure Container Registration Registry ID. Let's go here I need to look for get Azure Container Registration ID 001. Yeah, this is the one. And task and go to main. What it is doing? It will first validate whether the cloud elements are present or not, and inside the cloud element whether the name and the group of the ACR is present or not. If that is present, then I'm just doing Azure ACR show and resource group I am passing and the ACR name, and I'm only interested inside in the ID of that particular ACR. If we go to here and if we search for the ACR, because the ACR will be created at that point of time and will be look like this. Okay, so if we go to JSON, this is what we are trying to extract. This is the ID field. This ID I want to extract, which I am trying to extract here. Okay, in TSV format, I'm registering it with ACR ID and I'm passing that back with the registered variable. What is the registered variable for this? If you go here, this is the registered variable, container register 1 ID out. Okay, I'm printing that one, and next I'm just printing the AKS name, and I want the client ID of the kubelet identity. What is the client ID of the kubelet identity of AKS? Let's go back and check the AKS. Inside the resource group 4, we have AKS. If we go in the JSON view, we have covered this in the previous video as well, which is the theory of connecting ACR to AKS, that we have two different identities. This identity is the system assigned identity, which is used for the control plane resources, and there is another identity which is kubelet identity, and this is the client ID that we need to extract inside the identity profile, that kubelet identity. Why this one? Because this is attached to the worker nodes, and the worker node has the responsibility to pull the images from the ACR. Hence, we are interested to provide the RBAC further to this ID. Hence, we need to first extract this ID. Okay, so what we are doing is we are trying to pull the ID. How do we pull? Get AKS kubelet identity client ID. Where do I find this particular role? Inside the container, get AKS kubelet identity client ID task and main. What we are trying to do here is we are trying to validate the name of the AKS and the group name, and then AKS show resource group name, and my query is identity profile.kubelet identity.client ID. If you go here, identity profile.kubelet identity.client ID. This is what I am trying to extract here in TSV format, and the output is then passed to the registered variable, and my registered variable here is this one, AKS kubelet identity client identity out, client identity 1_out. Okay, now I'm trying to assign the RBAC. The RBAC is ACR pull. Okay, this is the particular RBAC that we need to provide. Why this RBAC? Because this is a role which will allow the client ID which is attached to the worker node. That means this will allow the worker node to pull the images from the ACR. Okay, this quickly, if you want to see this particular role, if you go here and search for ACR, this is the particular role that we are trying to attach it to, which will allow the worker node to pull /read. That means it will be able to pull the particular image. Okay, so that is the role that we are trying to attach to the principal ID, which is this client ID, and the scope is the ACR ID. That means to that particular Azure Container Registry. Again, another role, assign RBAC 001. So this is the role, assign RBAC 001. So what it is doing is, if you go here, it is taking all the three details and it is doing AZ role assignment create. The assignee is the user principal name, that is the client ID of the worker node, and then we have the role, that is ACR pool, and then the scope is nothing but the ACR ID. Okay, that means over the ACR. So now AKS will be able to pull the images from the ACR once we provide this particular access. But then how do we confirm that after giving the RBAC the access is really granted and our AKS is able to pull? Then how do we do this? We need to validate whether the AKS is able to pull the images from the ACR or not. Then we need to do the check AKS access. Okay, how do we check the AKS access? So we have another role for that, that is check AKS access to the ACR 001. Container check AKS access to ACR, and if we go to the task, what it is trying to do is it is just checking the names of ACR, AKS and the group name, and this is the important command, that is AZ AKS check ACR, and it will pass these variables and output is TSV. And further to that, what it is doing, it is trying to validate image pull permission succeeded. If the output do not have this particular string validating image pull permission succeeded, then it will fail my playbook and it won't let it continue. Okay, but if it has this particular string, that means it confirms that the connection of ACR to AKS is completed, then it will continue and pass the success message, that is true, to the registered variable, which is this one. Okay, and it will fail here if it is passing false. Okay, so let's go and try to run this particular playbook. We'll be running the infra complete, and infra complete will start from all. So before running the infra complete playbook, because we already have created the ACR and we have the AKS, let's first destroy everything that we have inside the resource group and create it from start. For that, we need to go and do the source and setup.sh. This will give the paths of the global roles to my Ansible project. This is very important step. Without this, the project will not run. Okay, and after that, let's go destroy.yaml. What it is doing, Ansible playbook -i inventory/dev, where my regional variables are present, and then trying to execute the destroy.yaml. So what it is doing, it is trying to log in and it will destroy the entire resource group. It is following this particular playbook where it is trying to log in and destroy the entire resource group, destroy the network RG resource group as well, and will destroy the users and RBAC roles which are created as well. See, the deletion is completed and my playbook is completed. Okay, good. Now, because now I don't have any other resource group which is relevant to this project, let's go and create the complete infrastructure from scratch. It will create the resource group, VNet, subnet, log workspace, monitoring workspace. It will create the AKS and it will attach itself to this VNet and one of the subnets. It will attach to the log workspace and the monitoring workspace. And also once that is completed, then we'll create a Azure Container Registry and it will attach that to the AKS. For that, what we just need to do is we need to start the infra complete playbook. Okay, Ansible playbook -i, we provide the regional variable inventory and that the playbook is infra complete. Yeah, okay, it has started. It is creating the resource group now. Okay, now we see the resource group is created and now it is creating multiple other things inside the resource group. Please ignore that one. It is just checking whether the VNet is present or not. If the VNet is not present, then only it creates. That's why the red color thing is present. Okay, now what do we have here? We have the VNet already created. Inside the VNet, we already have the subnets. Yes, subnets are also created, which is good. Let's keep refreshing and we should see one after another things are getting created. Right now, AKS, cloud element, log workspace is created, and then we start creating the AKS. I can see AKS is created, log workspace is there, and then we have the data connection rule also present. And then once that is done, checking the variables for container registry, it is creating the Azure Container Registry now. And once that is completed, now it is trying to attach, assigning the role ACR pool, and now checking the access of AKS to ACR. If the access is good, then it will result true and our playbook will pass. Okay, perfect. We already have the playbook completed. Let's quickly check what do we have here. If we go to the resource group, we have the container registry created here. Okay, and this is now attached to the AKS. And how do we confirm that it is attached to the AKS? If we go here in the IAM, if we check role assignments, we should see here the AKS1 agent pool has the access ACR pool. This is how we confirm that it is now connected to the AKS, and now our AKS is ready to pull the images from this ACR. Okay, this is all I wanted to showcase to you today. Thank you so much for watching this particular video. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.